Hello and thank you for joining us on the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Binga Oreshegun. Today on the program, court orders DSS to serve suit on part Utomi over shadow governments. Slates hearing for June 25. Senate seeks military base in Adamawa State amid Boko Haram attacks. And later on the show, JAMB announces mop-up examination for absentee candidates. Rejects incompetence, ethnic bias claims for glitches. I'll be hanging out with Paul Dada and Kaidi Ladendi. Journalist Hangout starts right now. Now let's begin the conversation. In a constitutional democracy like ours, rules and practices are best tested in the court of law for validation. The recent call for formation of a shadow government is about to be subjected to such tests. Now, the Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered a politician and professor of political economy, Utomi, to be served with the suit instituted against him by the Department of State Security, DSS, over his alleged plan to establish a shadow government. Now, the presiding judge, Justice James Omotosho, granted an ex parte motion brought by the lead counsel to DSS, Akinlolu Kehinde, SAN. Kehinde had sought permission to serve the court papers on Professor Utomi at his Lagos address via courier. The DSS approached the court for an order declaring the planned shadow government or shadow cabinet by Professor Utomi and his associate as unconstitutional. The DSS argues that it amounts to creating a parallel authority not recognized by the Nigerian Constitution. All right, Kaidi, let's start this way. I mean, now that the court has ordered the DSS to serve court documents and has given a date to Professor Utomi, what should we expect?
Yeah, what should we expect? Like I mentioned, I don't know whether some of our viewers watched that particular edition. It was a good idea. Okay. It was a good issue that this should be tested in court. And one of the things I said on that particular day is that whether APC is guilty of the same thing in the past or Utomi is bringing up the thing now, we need to understand, because the little knowledge I know about government in secondary school is that shadow government is acceptable in a parliamentary system of government.
Exactly.
Under presidential system of government, so I'm looking at the actors involved. We're dealing with a professor of political economy, and we're dealing with some SANs who also probably want to get into the fray. So this is, for some people, they might see it as an academic exercise. They might also see it as something to learn from, so that we put a stop or some kind of endorsement to the word shadow government, because it might be another page that is about to be opened in our lingo and our lexicon. So it's just for us to really know. It's quite a welcome idea. DSS has mentioned the fear attached to this if it doesn't go on. If it goes unchallenged. So for me, my position hasn't changed. I'm yet to see it being acceptable in a presidential system of government. So the court should explain to us.
Okay, better. Because in the Constitution, Section 1, Sub 2, they actually talked about. But let's look at it from another angle. I mean, are you surprised that the DSS is, taking the path of civil action instead of treating this matter as a criminal, a criminal offense?
That's the way it should be. Because if you look at the intent of the so-called shadow government, as explained by Utomi, it was not for the purpose of subverting this government. It was supposed to be some kind of think tank, to assess the performance of governments across sectors. So, but what's in the name? That's the issue. Shadow government is not shadow government is not a term that is used in a presidential system of government. And DSS has fears that it could encourage dissidence, sedition, and all of that. So you cannot say the fears of DSS aren't genuine.
Okay.
It's also very difficult to fault Pat Utomi. You can't say that it is wrong to set up a think tank. Perhaps you can argue that you should reconsider, you should have thought of another name. But what's in a name? Is the name enough to, is it strong enough to provoke fears?
Okay.
You know. But again, I think, like I already said, let's leave it to the courts to decide. And when the court decides, then I think we can finally settle the matter. But it's a good thing that, you know, I think Pat Utomi, a gentleman, was being melodramatic when he was saying, DSS, these are my hands, come.
Yeah, he said that death is no big deal.
No. I think it was being melodramatic.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, because
or you think it's
DSS hadn't said, I don't think DSS had said that he was going to be treated like a criminal yet. And it's not being treated as one. So the DSS is approaching the court as issued. So let's wait and see what the court will say. And I believe that whatever the court says will calm nerves and everybody.
And also,
will be all right.
his supporters have mobilized 500 lawyers to defend him. Yes, and they even criticized those in power, you know, talking about, they said they are prioritizing personal gain over the country's future. I mean, your thoughts on this one?
You see, irrespective of, you know, one thing strong leaders don't get moved by is when there's a mob action. You understand? Especially one born out of ignorance. I am 200% in support of what DSS has done.
You think the DSS was proactive in what it did?
Beyond the word proactive, I just felt they've done the right thing. Let us know whether it is right to stop this kind of thing, because the job of DSS is to be proactive. Okay. It's for them to work on intels. It's for them to say that, hey, what did you do? Must we be reactive? Must we go when things has gone overboard? Okay. Or are they even thinking beyond the party told me that Dada and I know that they can't hurt a fly? You understand? Are they looking at people who can hijack the system from party to me and make the country ungovernable? So you think it can be misinterpreted? Somebody should not undermine the decision of the DSS. DSS is saying, hey, shadow government in a parliamentary system of government, they are not ignored. They make headlines. What they say carries a lot of weight. What a shadow government does is that there is a minister of interior in the shadow government. There's a minister of
education, minister of this and that.
Exactly. So the reason given by Pat Utomi sounds very logical. He's saying that the opposition is in shambles. There is no kind of opposition party who are providing viral opposition. That's what gave birth to this. Okay. But is it acceptable
in a democratic,
in a presidential system of government?
I mean, I like what Paul Dada said. He said that when he's Professor Pat Utomi said, "These are my hands. Death is no big deal." But do you think Professor Pat Utomi is, you know, looking for some sort of attention to be like a martyr of change or some sort, you know, Nigeria?
I think Pat Utomi is in the best position to answer for himself why he said what he said. You know, these are my hands. But the Pat Utomi that we know is a gentleman. The Pat Utomi that we know it's not someone who just wants to eat up the polity. You know, it's not someone who just wants to hit up the polity. And I think he means well by saying, look, Nigeria needs robust, very robust opposition. Okay. Honestly, personally, I think that the APC has not really enjoyed, or has not really, no, is it enjoyed? Has not really had serious opposition. Or Nigeria has not seriously seen real robust opposition since the APC came on board.
Okay, before the 2015 election.
Yes, unlike how APC did not allow
the PDP.
PDP lost sleep over APC. Remember Lai Mohammed always dropping, you know, before you knew it, he had dropped a press release in Ilorin. The other time you were reading it was in Lagos. You understand? They organized themselves. I think Nigeria needs opposition. Honestly, I mean, every political party needs that opposition.
I mean, that's what democracy is.
That's what it's all about, to provide alternatives. So Nigeria can have options.
Absolutely.
However, shadow government, that term is making DSS to be very concerned. Like he said, you don't know the information DSS has.
All right, gentlemen. you know, we have freedom of association, but Section 1, Sub 2 talks about Nigeria shall only be governed by a democratically elected government. But the point is, where do we draw the line? But I'll let you just, just think about this. Just